right? And plus our network in our brain, remember, it's learned behavior. We have to unlearn and start building different habits so that, Melanie, we believe we can do it.
For joining us today. We've got another great podcast for you. If you want to be a high performer, be at your peak state, I know I do. Keep waking up with brain fog and then having to motivate myself every day through it. And there's just times you have to kick your own butt, but you don't know how to do it. So we have Evan Mark here today, Marks, and he is a professional. He deals with C suite, he deals with executives, he teaches about leadership and high performance and how to achieve those things. He is like an amazing coach to do this, and he's going to share his secrets with us today. Evan, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm glad we got over our technical
Yes.
difficulties and now we can rock and roll a little bit. But thank you very much for having me. It's an
We
honor to
were
be on the
having technical
podcast.
difficulties this morning, and that was, I told you I appreciated your mindset with your patience to get over those hurdles. And that is part of the key because every day you have things you have to overcome. What are some of the things that you tell people when you're having just those day to day challenges to overcome things?
It's interesting, when we hear about obstacles and hurdles, we often consider fight or flight like worst case
Hmm.
scenario. But if we have the ability to slow down, right, to feel frustration, to feel our nerves and give ourselves some mental space in between emotions and feelings and behavior, that makes the world of difference because it's a feeling, it's frustration. You won't remember this in 2 hours, right? So why do we have to play into it? Why do we have to do something that's unconscious and react? We could be proactive, like our discussion just now. This is out of my control. I enjoy being here. That's what I'm feeding myself, right? I've set time for this, and this is all right, right? It's gonna be an incredible conversation. So why let frustration ruin that? I'm allowed to feel
Yeah.
whatever I want, but I'm also allowed to choose how I behave and react
So
to
either you can feed
situations.
into the frustration, right? Or walk away from the frustration and choose which way you want to react to it. Like you say, oh my gosh, I could be so frustrated about this. My computer's not going right. But instead, just go with the flow. No, it's going to turn out okay. And it just makes your life more easy, more enjoyable.
Well, it's a
Hmm.
mindset, right? So it's like, how am I going to feed myself? So I'm allowed to be frustrated. But if I start ruminating in the frustration, which is actually a
Hmm.
behavior, I'm in a survival mode now. So I don't want to be there. So I could acknowledge it because we don't acknowledge it. It could build intensity
Yeah.
unconsciously, pick up its own narrative, all that gorgeous stuff. Or I'd say, you know what? I'm frustrated. All right. What can I do
Yeah.
now? And it's really that shift. And if you think about it, Melanie, one road I'm
Yeah.
going the wrong way, that's surviving. And the other road I'm thriving. And that's
And I
happened
love how
that
you said you
quickly.
get to pick what you control. You can, control what you can control. Tell us, let me take a step back and tell us how you got started in this mindset business and performance coach.
So I've been coaching now 7 years. I'm 52 years old. And I went to University of Pennsylvania where I was a Division I lacrosse player, but only short time because I blew my knees out twice, which had a pretty big
Yeah.
impact on my life. But UPenn is an incubator for Wall Street. And I was lucky enough to go to school with my identical twin brother, Steven. And he got a job with a hedge fund. He's like, Deb, you got to see
Yeah.
this. So I got thrown into the mix. So I spent 20, almost 25 years managing money. And ironically, it's nothing I ever wanted to do. I always wanted to coach and teach, but it seemed like everybody was doing this. So I might as well do this. And I'm fortunate I was pretty decent at it. But the interesting thing that I never wanted to
Really?
do it. I enjoyed the competitiveness. I enjoyed the process of decision making. I love risk. So all these things I enjoyed, but most importantly, I enjoyed the leadership
Hmm.
of others, of teaching others, of being around these high achievers and how are they thinking when all this external data is coming at them. And now they have to understand their
Yeah.
internal data. How are they making decisions? I was always amazed by this. And I was very fortunate to have a couple coaches along the way. One was this gentleman named Maury Kiev, who was almost the godfather of mental performance coaching. He did it for a lot of hedge fund managers and Olympic athletes. And then I had another coach who actually, his style was get bigger, do more work, don't worry about the emotions, do what you got to do. And that didn't
Mm.
work for me. I met my second coach who was saying, wait a second, Emotions are data. So she took modern psychoanalysis, which is the past or past experiences, and merged that with the latest research in neuroscience, which is how the brain
Yeah.
actually works, and put that together. And I really related to it. She coached me for a while. And unfortunately, at 46, I thought I had a heart
Mm.
attack. I had moved my daughter to the burbs. I lived in the city for 25 years. And I remember being in a hospital, and it actually was a massive
Mm.
panic attack. And everything was fine. Kids were healthy. Business was good. Relationships were good. And the neurologist said to me, "You have put yourself in so much chronic stress, your brain is fried." He's like, "You have a choice, either to stop what you're doing." He goes, "Have you ever thought about coaching and teaching?" I'm like, "What?" I go, "I'm 46 years old. I got two kids." Like that ship has sailed. And ironically, my old coach asked me, "What are the odds you come work with?" So I sold my partnership. I went back to school, and my first gig ever was Hendrick Motorsports in Charlotte, coaching Jimmy Johnson and his pit crew team. That was my
Wow,
first
that's
gig in coaching.
impressive for your first gig.
Yeah, right? My twin brother was like, "How, where are you gonna start? Like coaching Pee Wee?" I go, "I haven't figured this out yet." And I call him up. He's like, "You kidding me?" I go, "I'm not kidding you." I mean, my first run, I was a little
Yeah.
nervous, obviously. I'm like, "What am I doing?" But I drew on all these things I knew and what I was learning. And, I lived this
Mhm.
performance life, working on Wall Street, being an athlete. So I was this great, I could just soak all this stuff up because I've lived it. Now I understood the science behind it, made it even clearer to me. And so I've been doing this 7 years. And in January, I left, it was called the Rethink Group. I left and formed my own company called M1 Performance Group, where I cater to professional athletes, C-suite executives, and obviously Wall Street. And so my job is merging the why
Mhm.
do I do the things we do and the how. How do I get better? Right? You need both of those in order to create a really strong mental foundation that we can leverage off of. And that's what I do
How
for a living.
exciting, you make people's
And I love
lives
it.
better every day. That's gotta jazz you up to make you wanna wake up and make someone's life better to do that.
And the byproduct is I get better, which is even,
Yeah, now is
sweeter.
there a formula for making the decisions? It seems like you work with high performance people to begin with, but what about the people who aren't like, geared as high performance? How do you motivate them? Like your everyday person, they're like, wow, I have a goal. I'd like to start my own company, but they keep getting derailed. Is there a formula for making decisions to get you to your goal every day?
So, when we all, procrastination isn't the lack of effort. It's actually a fear of a future
Mm,
feeling, right? Am I going to be judged? Am I going to be embarrassed? Right? Am I going to regret
yeah.
this? Right? So when we understand that, we have to say, so where did that person
Mhm,
come from? What was their makeup? Why are they afraid of this? Why do they keep repeating these same behaviors? Right? So when we set a
mhm,
goal, that's easy. Anybody can set a goal. But what happens in the fourth and fifth step? Why is it over? Right? So we have to understand what where we're
mhm.
starting from. Where does it feel? Well, I was told I wasn't good at this. I'm not good at this. So now our belief system is shattered, right? And plus our network in our brain, remember, it's learned
Mhm.
behavior. We have to unlearn and start building different habits so that, Melanie, we believe we can
Yeah.
do it, right? And that's how it starts. Now, I want to lose weight. I want to do this. Putting down that Snickers bar may seem inconsequential to everybody else, but it's not. That one small conscious decision begins this momentum train. And it has to be small
Yeah.
steps, right? Because then that funnel opens and then you look back, you're like, how did I get?
How do you get through, like, the Snickers bar, right? You did the Snickers bar, then you're beating yourself up, and then you might just go, "Well, and I didn't work out today." Like, if we're using weight loss or getting in shape as an example, and then you're just like, "Well, I might as well." How do you give up, or how do you get back on track? How do you forgive yourself? Because you might miss up a couple times a day, but how do you say that's alright and still keep making those good small decisions?
Well, it's forgiveness without action feels like an
Mhm.
excuse, right? Oh, here I go, forgiveness again. I'm doing the same stuff anyway. right? So then, when we set goals, in the beginning, set them small. So the middle is
Mhm.
less. So the duration between start and finish is much smaller, right? So when people say in 5 years, I'm like, 5 years? How about the next month?
Yeah.
What are we doing? How about the next week? How about
Mm.
today? So now we start to build, and it's in our brain. We start to build these because now I feel this way. I give myself space. Okay, what am I trying to accomplish here? And I constantly choose a
Mhm.
behavior. What happens then is I start building these new experiences that, wait a second, when I'm predicting into the future, well, I've always said this, I never do it. But wait a second, I am starting to do this. So with more repetition, we are literally building new pathways in our brain. So when we start thinking about, will I be able to do this? Wait a second, I've
Mhm.
done this. Now, does that start with doing 20 push-ups a day or 10? Of course it does. It may sound, like I said again, so inconsequential, but it's not.
Yeah.
We start to build this momentum. As small as it sounds, 2 and 2 is 4. It doesn't sound like that. Let us 4 and
Mhm.
4 and 8. As it
Yeah.
gets bigger, right? You got to start somewhere. And then you go through that door of everything you've learned, and you're like, wow, how did this happen?
I really love the daily goals and the weekly goals because in today's society, with all this stuff bombarding your head all the time, it's easy to get distracted and go down the wrong path. And you're having this big thing, it's overwhelming. Oh my gosh, I've got to lose 30 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, whatever it is. Or I've got to, hit a certain sales goal. And it just seems so much. But I love to say, well, what decisions then am I going to make today to make that happen? So I'm not overwhelmed with the whole thing. And sometimes even a week can be too much for someone. Just waking up and saying, what do I do
Yeah.
today to make this happen?
I'm going to work out 5 times a week. I'm not going to eat carbs. I'm going to give up drinking. I'm going to sleep 40 hours a day. Doesn't work that way, right? We have, because you know what's interesting? When we do that, we're setting ourselves up to
Mhm.
hurt ourselves, to sabotage ourselves. Now, is that conscious? No, but it is
Mhm.
unconscious. Well, I can't do anything. Well, that's learned
Yeah.
behavior. So then the question really is, so how do let's just start in the morning. Let's wake up instead of at 6:30, I wake up
Mhm.
at 6. Now, does that mean anything? It's going to.
Yeah.
You may not see Tuesday, Thursday, the difference is, but I'm telling you, it's going to start. And what does that mean? It's a belief
Mm.
system now. And once you're able to do that, like a lot of my clients take cold showers in the morning. Now we know the benefits of cold exposure, dopamine, what it does for
Yeah.
your brain, your immune system, your confidence, your mentality. And it's only 3 minutes. Anybody can do it, but it's actually a behavior
Yeah.
shift. It's saying the activation energy getting in, and you're like, why am I even doing this? The dumbest thing in the world. But we know it's good for you, right? And then you start doing it for 3 minutes. Like, who the hell? I'm doing it for 15 years. I still don't like it, but it starts my day with a rhythm,
Yeah.
right? And all of a sudden I go, well, if I could do that, because who the hell would want to do that? What else am I
Yeah.
capable of doing? You see how that
So true, and
starts?
I'm laughing because I just got through having COVID again, and I still have a little, like, upper
Mm.
respiratory stuff going on, and I took my shower this morning, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't want the cold water. Can I just have, like, extra hot water? That'll make me feel so much better." But at the last minute, I was like, "Okay, just do it. Just do it." So, how do you tap into that subconscious mind? You talk about the subconscious. What are some tools and tips that you have for the subconscious?
So when we talk about the unconscious, right? And a lot of that's past
Mhm.
experiences, right? And learned behavior, right? And that's the Freudian side of things. Like, it's like 0 to 15, 16. The greatest way to tap in is to ask self
Mhm.
exploratory questions. How am I feeling and why? What am I trying to accomplish? What was the meaning behind that? But the big thing is to actually verbalize it so you can hear it and somewhat
Mhm.
see it. Because what happens is, in any meeting, the person asking the questions is in the seat of influence. But when we ask self exploratory questions, it puts us in the seat of influence for
Mhm.
ourselves. Now, the greatest thing about that is you don't have to answer the question. What these questions actually do is it's just left my mind.
Okay.
They trigger the unconscious, they stimulate the unconscious. So we may not know the answer immediate, but now the unconscious is
Yeah.
moving, right? Because the unconscious doesn't know time. It could come out in a dream. It could come out when we're taking a nice walk. Like, where'd that come from? But that's the process. That's the exploratory nature of stimulating the unconscious. And what also happens is behavior changes before feelings, right? Melanie, like, when I'm happy, I'll do this. When I'm no longer angry,
Mhm.
I'll do this. If I wasn't sad, I'd do this. It doesn't
Yeah.
work that way, right? Feelings are last to change. The intensity of feelings are last to change. The duration of feelings, but what we learn is like, I have moments of sadness. All right. I'm a human being. They don't last very long, but I'm like everybody else. But now I don't, I notice them. I acknowledge them. I say, "Oh, I'm feeling sad today." I said, what's going on here? I may not know
Yeah.
the answer. Let me go take a nice, let me get some air on me. Let me just change my behavior a little bit. Maybe it'll tell me something. But that's really when we talk about discipline, which is self care, that's really treating yourself extremely
Yeah.
kindly.
It's very important.
Yeah. And
Yeah, it's
that's
important to be
important.
kind to yourself. I
Yeah.
heard something the other day that I've been thinking about it after they said it. It's like if you were given a human when you were first born, like you're responsible for a human. Just like when you have a child, you're responsible for that child. Well, guess what? You are the human you're responsible for. So when you wake up, you're like, "Oh my gosh, I've got to be responsible for this human, but it's me. How am I going to feed it? What am I going to do to make sure it's healthy? What am I going to do to make sure it's mind and it's happy?" And you don't think about like it's self-care, but it was a different way to think about it, if that makes sense, which I thought was kinda cool.
I saw the
Oh,
same
did
video,
you?
by the way, and it had a real big impact on, yeah, yeah, it was two
Yeah.
people talking to each
I think
other.
it was
Yeah,
on Drew Barrymore's
yeah.
show.
But it's so true though, if you think about that, right? But so when we think like positive
Mhm.
psychology, I mean, it doesn't work because it's not
Yeah.
reality. Like there are traumas in my past. Not that I have to scuba dive every day in them, but I have to acknowledge and be able to understand why and how do I keep moving forward? How do I go from surviving the past, which is no longer
Mhm.
serving me, to actually being able, and I know it's very cliche, but thriving and moving forward, right? So now we have to work through certain things in our past. But also the part of coaching is as I'm working, I'm doing, right? I'm just not sitting there pondering
Yeah.
constantly. I'm putting action with, it's like I'm getting all the butterflies together going in the right
Yeah, and
direction.
it's hard to get rid of that pain from the past for some people, right? They've had damage or, different things have happened to them, whether it's divorce or abuse or different experiences or bullying,
Yeah.
and it kind of seeds itself back into you now and then, and you're like, "Okay, I'm sad. This does make me feel sad," and you have to forgive even if it was you felt like someone did you wrong, to forgive them, to move on. And it's really a process. I mean, how do you tell, like you say, go for a walk, get some air on yourself? Does that really work? Is there a way to totally get
Well,
rid
you
of
know
it
what?
and not have to revisit it anymore?
Well, the answer is no, right? The
Dang
answer is
it.
no. Let's just assume you'll never totally get rid
Mhm.
of it, right? There are things in your brain
Mm.
you're never going to get rid of. And so why is that bad? But sometimes when we're able to just let go of the rope and say, I accept this is
Mhm.
what happened and it hurt, but I also have the power to move
Mm.
on, right? So that's not void of what
Mhm.
happened, right? That's not dismissive of how you feel and what
Yeah.
happened to you. But we also have the power and the capability and the opportunity to actually get
Yeah.
better. It's
I
true.
love that you said, "You
We
have the
can.
power to get better. You can take the choices. I have the power
Yeah.
not to focus on this. I have the choice not to focus on this. I have the choice to be happy today or tomorrow and next week if I want to."
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing. And then, when we talk about a mindset and how do we feed ourselves with the
Mhm.
good words, right? Not feed ourselves with great nutrition, but what words am I
Yeah.
using? Words carry mass weight with others and
Mhm.
ourselves. Whether you're a pro athlete, right? Where we know mindset's big,
Yeah.
but there's no such thing as fearless, right? So in the face of fear, in the face of fear of judgment, in the face of fear of
Mhm.
embarrassment, in the face of fear of expectation, all these things, they're real. So if we know they're real, all
Yeah.
right. So that means this is going to be a part of it, but I'm going to use these perceived negative emotions, because they carry intensity, to my advantage. See
Yeah,
that
big shift.
shift?
What are some of your tips to be able to show up? You've got a big sales call, you've got a big presentation, you're a little nervous. How do you tap into that energy to show up your best self with your strengths?
But it's a great question. I had a very big call yesterday, and I'm very confident in my coaching, but I'm a human being. I was
Yeah.
very nervous. I was nervous because it meant a lot to me. So the night before, I know it's big, and I can feel
Yeah.
my nerves, right? It's visceral. I can feel my emotions. My heart's a little tight, my
Yeah.
chest a little tight, right? And until I'm like, "Ooh, this is interesting because I know it means something to me." I said, so what do I need to do? So there's so many different techniques. I could visualize what I think I want it to look like. How's it going to go? Right. And obviously breath work, right? Right. Moving my nervous system from sympathetic to parasympathetic, rest and digestion. So
Yeah.
I'm calmed down. Right. But I'm doing this because I'm conscious of what's going on. So, right. And also, ready for this one? Saying it. I'm
Huh.
nervous. All right. That's it. What do you mean? Just say how you're feeling. It's a real feeling, but you need to verbalize it. When we think things and they stay in the darkness, it doesn't help as much. But when I can say, you know what, Melanie, I have a big call and I'm really nervous. Oh, really? Yeah. It means a lot to me. Good. Let's take a breath. What are we trying to accomplish here? And that alone, the labeling, the vocalizing, the bring it
Mhm.
into the light is big. So why can't I be nervous? It means a lot to me. I'm a
Yeah.
human being. Why would I have that emotion? Once I accept that I'm allowed to be nervous. If I'm an NFL player, an NBA, I'm nervous because it means a lot. Why wouldn't you be nervous? However, you don't have to see the difference, right? So I know now that, I spend a lot of time on Wall Street and my assistant used to look at me. He's like, how you feeling? I go, extremely nervous. He's like, you're nervous every day. But then he goes, but you never act it.
Uh,
I said, because I know what nervousness means to me. It means I'm dialed in. It means something to me. But I also know now, right? Consistency with evidence builds confidence. That I'm allowed to be nervous because I know how to behave in the face of it. I know how to calm it, down regulate, right? If my pressure is at 12, I know if I get it to a
yeah.
7 by breathing, by acknowledging, doesn't have to be a 5. I could
Yeah.
still be uncomfortable, but I still have the ability to make the best decision I can. May not be the right one, because we're only right nose in time, but I have the ability to make the best decision I can because I'm aware of what's going
Yeah.
on, right? Emotional awareness, situational awareness. I'm taking it down to a level where I'm still uncomfortable, but I'm able to be proactive and not
Mhm.
reactive because reactive is from the past. So all of these things, Melly, I'm starting to build these experiences, which helps my confidence, helps my belief system, helps my mental state, strengthens my mental capital. So when hurdles, obstacles, emergencies come down the pipe, I know how to find my footing.
Yeah.
It's going to
For
happen.
sure.
I'm not wishing it upon myself. But when it does happen, okay, what do I need to do here? I'm very nervous. I'm very scared. All right. What do we need to do here, Evan? Okay, let's just start small. Let's build some
Mhm.
momentum here. Good. And bang, I'm in
And I
rhythm
love how
again.
you say, like, verbalize it. There's so many times in life, I think when you let it go and you say it, it doesn't seem as big anymore. And your mind is like this evil machine repeating. It's like a repeat button going over and over and over again. You're like, stop it. And then as soon as you let it out, you're like, oh, or write it down, either journal it. And, suddenly it's
Yep.
like, oh, it doesn't seem so big anymore or so scary anymore by putting it out there. And then you can start to focus on the positive part like, "Oh, I'm nervous or I'm scared, but now I know I'm gonna do my best. I know I'm, prepared for this. I know I'm the best person for the job," and you can start having that positive self-talk once you get the nervousness talk out.
Right. But it has to get
Yeah,
out, right? Because if you think about it, Melanie, so I have all these things. Now they're going to tag him when everyone was 12 years old and he did all these things. Now it's going to tag to these old
yes,
experiences, right? It's going to go up into a little core catalog. And now the intensity of that emotion, which is now
yeah,
out of control, is intensifying. The narrative now is blown out, which we know narratives are usually, if you don't mind, bullshit, right? So now this whole thing's going on where I could have been like, you know what?
yeah,
I'm nervous. Well, you should be. Good.
yeah.
Let's
Now
go.
use it for positive.
I tell my children, I said, girls, I can't control how you feel, but I want you to understand and acknowledge how you
Mm,
feel. Like, if you're afraid, I can't tell you not to be afraid, but I want you to be able to acknowledge it.
yeah,
If you're angry, hey, Zoe and Ellie, don't be angry. Don't be, no, go ahead,
yeah,
experience that. But remember, it's a feeling, it's yours. I can't tell you how to feel. However, as a father, I want to let you guys know that you have the opportunity to pick
yeah.
your behavior.
And
Isn't
and
that
you know what's so
incredible?
incredible about that? I've had experience with people and people in my family, when they don't acknowledge the feeling, it gets stuffed down. And then they stuff another one down, and they stuff another one down. It's like, your kitchen sink gets clogged up, right? And then there's no flow of energy because you just keep stuffing these, sad or bad emotions or beating up emotions down your pipes, and then it explodes in a bad way.
Then it's like
Yeah.
Chernobyl and boom. And people are like, where'd that come from? I'm
Yeah.
like, I got a feeling.
Yeah. Well, Evan, this was awesome. Tell people where they can
Thanks.
reach out to you and hire you and get more information.
So it's a pleasure. We'll leave it on a Chernobyl line. So I am eMorks72 on Instagram, Evan Morks on LinkedIn. My website is m1performancegroup.com. And my team actually made a landing page just for this podcast. So it's m1performancegroup.com/elite expert insider/. And that you'll see the M1 mental model where we talk about emotions, mental space, choice, questions, experiences. And then there's a discovery. If you're interested, you can always contact me. And there's also a coaching questionnaire to stimulate your unconscious a
Terrific.
little bit.
Definitely go check that out. That sounds really helpful. We appreciate you making that special landing page just for us. That's amazing. So
Quite
if
well.
you're thinking about writing a
Yeah.
book, if you have thoughts that you of those pains and things that we talked about today, writing a book is a great way to do that. Here at Elite Online Publishing, we offer full service. We have a VIP day that takes you from idea to book creation. We do publishing, ghostwriting, and marketing, and we guarantee we'll make your book a bestseller with our marketing program. So keep writing, everybody. Have a great day and check us out and share our podcast with your friends. See you next time. Hey, are you looking to increase your revenue, build credibility, and elevate your brand? This podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, an innovative publishing and full spectrum marketing company. They will publish and market your book to make it a #1 bestseller. Becoming an author is the best way to market your business. So contact them at eliteonlinepublishing.com today. All of their authors become #1 bestsellers.